Welcome to Bridging Generations in Sales and Outreach. My name is Butch Nicholson. I'm the host of the show today. Uh, so I don't forget this. There is a chat here. If you have any questions or any comments for either of the guests or me, just put them in the chat and we'll address them. Uh, this is the show where old school wisdom meets new school tools. And we have a great example of that today. We have Hutch Matteson, who has been a good friend of mine for a long time. And I'm going to let Hutch tell us about what he's doing. Uh, but we also have Jenna Smith. And Hutch and Jenna have known each other a long time. Uh, they met in the hospital when Jenna was born because
Yep.
Jenna is Hutch's daughter. And this is a great example of what we do here on this show. Generations coming together to get that old school wisdom and new school tools. So thank you for being with us today. Uh, so let me introduce Hutch Matteson. I've known Hutch for probably more than 10 years.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
I'm going to let him tell us about how he got to where he is now and what his current passion is.
Thanks, Butch. Appreciate the invite. Glad to be able to be a part of this episode of your program. And I come from a history of church work. I was pastoring for 25 years. In 2011, my wife and I stepped out in faith apart from that to start a nonprofit called the Peer Foundation. And our goal or vision was to work with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And really, from day one, part of that vision included creating a live, work, worship, play community for adults with disabilities. Um, didn't get a lot of traction over the years on that. We have worked with well over 200 adults with disabilities. We have provided jobs, job skill training, life skill training. We have a day program that we operate. We have our very own dog treats that we make and sell. And so we've diversified and had a lot of opportunities over the years. We've had several of the adults that we've worked with has lived in our homes with us, and that's kind of been the training ground for what we're about to do now. And that is the song, "The Sanctuary of North Georgia." That is a community for adults with different abilities to live, to uh, have their best life and the most free options available for them to explore life, live in community, and just be able to experience the best life possible in a safe, secure environment. And the catalyst for all that really, Butch, was 35 years ago when our oldest son, Josh, was born. He has Down syndrome. And so you talked about Jenna being my daughter. We have another son named Jonathan, then Jenna, then Julia. So we have four children in total. The other three, besides Josh, are now all married, and Jenna gave us our first grandson. So she made me a grandpa. You talked about old school wisdom. I don't know about that, but the old part fits. And so Jenna has joined our board, and she plays a vital role on our team as well. And so that's really how she fits into this. But I'm going to let her tell a little bit of her story. So Jenna, tell us a little bit about your story and how it came to be where you're working with us in this endeavor, the Sanctuary of North Georgia.
Yeah, well, I've always been, a part of the family, and the family business has been ministry. And so for growing up in my younger years, it was being the child of the pastor. And then as they started the nonprofit, it was working at the thrift store and helping them solve some tech issues here and there, whatever I could figure out. And then when I got out a little bit on my own, I started working. My first big girl job was at the YMCA. And so that entered me into the world of nonprofits outside of my family, which was great because it was a little bit of a lower risk environment. I was able to learn and grow and, learn from people who have been doing that work for a long time and through organizations that have been in place for a long time with their systems and their advertising already in place. I adjusted throughout my career. I've worked for a few different nonprofits and have also been in sales. So again, I've had an interesting amount of experience. My resume is unique. I'm a real estate agent now, but I will never stop helping my family do, what's best for this community of adults with special needs, because it's, directly affects my family and my brother. And it's just an unmet need in the community, and figuring out how to make young people and people of all generations understand the vision is why I'm here.
Hey, Butch, real quick. Jenna, because she was our third out of the 4 children, you got to understand she's never known what it's like to not have a person with a disability in her life. I mean, from day one.
Yeah.
And just as a proud dad moment, I also want to say for Jen, she bought her first home at the age of 21. And I don't know if that's because she was just an incredibly gifted and talented and passionate girl, or she just wanted to get out of the house. It may have been a combination of both. I don't know. But since age 21, she's, Jen, I don't know, what, third or fourth house. And so we're just real proud of her career and her family. And so I just wanted to do a proud dad moment.
Well, and it's been a blessing to be in a family that always says, oh, we can do that. If it doesn't exist, oh, we can do that. Oh, 20-year-olds don't buy houses. Well, you can do that. And so that's kind of informed a lot of, I think, the decisions that have been made throughout the life of the peer and the nonprofit is, well, no one else is doing it, so we'll do it, and that's not a bad attitude to have, especially when it ends up working out 9 times out of 10.
So, Jenna, you've overcome being a preacher's kid.
I tell them I was also homeschooled. So it's my little anecdote when I meet new people. I say, yeah, I was a homeschooled pastor's kid and I turned out okay. I mean, I have a twitch from time to time, but no, and they're like, you're so normal. And I'm like, I'm not. First of all, what is normal? We need to figure that out. But no, I did. I overcame the pastor's kid. I actually loved it. I don't know why people hated it, but I loved it. It was almost like I looked at it as being the president's family. I was the, everyone liked you for the most part. You weren't invited to all the parties, but you were invited to enough things. And, hey, it was good. I enjoyed it. And now, as in like a sales environment, people know me because they knew my dad, and it's never a bad little connection to make. So I'm not mad about it.
That goes back to the title of our show, Old School Wisdom and New School Talent, New School Tools. So, Hutch, the reason I wanted you to be on the show, and Jenna, he suggested you be on the show, and I'm very happy about that. When I was thinking about guests for the show, and just up front, I have a passion for what Hutch is doing, and I support his ministry with these young adults who are just really need a place, or are blessed to have a place like Hutch and Jenna and their family is creating. But the reason to be on the show is, my thought was getting people to donate to a nonprofit really is a sale.
Yes.
And it's a different kind of sale because, normally you think of sales, I'm going to give you some money and you're going to give me something. It might be an object, right, or it might be a service you're going to provide me.
Yeah.
But a sale to get somebody to support a nonprofit is a very different kind of sale. So speak to that if you would.
Well, it certainly does present its challenges, both leadership-wise and in fundraising. What we're selling, really, to be quite honest, Butch, is a vision that you can be a part of changing the world for somebody else. Because if you want to give to the sanctuary of North Georgia because you believe that providing safe and secure housing for adults with disabilities is a good thing, then your participation, your prayer support, your financial support, you come out and help us to do things on the property, all of that gives you a buy-in to what we're doing, which is creating a better world for those people and their families. In the church world, very few churches would push back at having a family that has someone with a disability in it coming to their church. But very rare is the church that actually goes after, what I mean going after, to fully minister to and reach out and be a blessing to that particular community. And so when we started this, we really wanted to start it as a Bible study for adults with disabilities, because when they get to age 22, they age out of the school system. And nearly just overnight, everything that they have known for the last 22 years, the mentors they've had, the relationships they've built, the activities that they've participated in, are all gone overnight. And if you stop and think about it, in all likelihood, most all of these adults are going to live 2/3 of their life outside of school. And there's so many wonderful programs for school age kids, the Special Olympics, a Miracle League, and so many other wonderful things. And it's easy to get excited about helping kids. And I understand that, and we support that. But what about that 25-year-old, 35-year-old, 45, 55, 65-year-old? They don't get a lot of glitz and glamour and publicity, but they're going to live the rest of their life in somewhere. And the real vision behind the Sanctuary of North Georgia was that what if Cindy and I can no longer one day provide care for Josh? And then we started to think about that. What does that mean for others? He has two great sisters, a wonderful brother. They would gladly take him in. But what that means is that Josh's world is immediately uprooted. And he has to fit into their home. He has to fit into their routines. He has to fit into the chemistry of their family. Jenna has a very different family from her sister, Julia. Julia has a very different family from their brother, Jonathan. And the culture that Josh is used to is all going to change if we die or can no longer care for him. So we wanted to create a place where when we can no longer care for him, his care and his routines and his house continue to stay the same. Now, it's going to need management from his sisters and brother to help provide, make sure that caregivers are there and they're doing their job and doing it correctly. But also, we didn't want to put undue pressure on Josh's siblings. We didn't put that pressure on Jenna to say, oh, Jenna, you're going to have to give up a great portion of your life to do all of the affairs of your brother. So really, the song is a win-win. So when somebody catches a vision for that, and then they can get behind that, and then they can get excited about it, they want to be a part of it. You know, to be honest with you, as we share the vision for the song, most people say, wow, I never thought of that. I never thought about that. You know, the world I grew up in, I knew one disabled person. I had a neighbor. We didn't live in a community. We lived in the country. So we had one neighbor who had a disability and he was in a wheelchair. But outside of that, I can't think of hardly anybody else that I ever knew growing up. And so Jenna's world has been filled with that because she's been with us as we've gone to Special Olympics and gone to all those things. But there's so many people that we get to meet that just don't understand what it's like. Because to be honest with you, Butch, if you invite Cindy and I to go out to dinner with you and your girlfriend, well, that's great. And we're so thankful for it. But now we got to think, what are we going to do about Josh? Is he allowed to come? Do we have to provide somebody to watch him? He can stay by himself for a couple of hours, but we don't want to leave him for too long. So that's a world that I live in every day that most people don't live in. And so, and there are literally thousands upon thousands. You know, I'll throw this in 2023, we launched a Facebook page called Parents, Siblings, and Caregivers of Adults with Down Syndrome. And we didn't know what to expect. The first year, Butch, we had 230 participants. By the end of the second year, we had over 6,500 participants in our Facebook page from all over the world, New Zealand, Australia, everywhere that UK that you could think of. Because people with different abilities are everywhere. And so the challenge then is it's a bigger problem than I can afford to fix. So we've had to employ some tools. That's why Jenna is on our team to help us to employ some tools, because for years, to be quite honest with you, the fundraising was, hey, Butch, can you help me out? You know, I would talk to you, I would write to you, I'd write to friends and family and people that we would get to meet. And it was effective. But as we get to the stage where we're building a community, houses, cottages, driveways, walking paths, all of those things, we need a lot of people to do a little bit to help us. And so that's the challenge that we have today. And the challenge is immense. People are genuinely generous for the most part. But I think if you looked at the statistical numbers, there's a very small percentage of people that give generously. The ones that do give generously. But a lot of it's just about opportunity. So we've asked Jenna to come on to our team to help us reach not only a younger generation, but also a different part of the community than we're adept at reaching, and that's in the social media area.
Yeah, and
So Hutch, hey, Jenna, hold 1 second. Let me say something, and then I'm going to ask you to answer part of what you're going to say right now is the question I'm going to ask you. So Hutch, what you've done is reached out to your peers, the people that you've come in contact with over the years. I know you have a tremendous men's ministry that you're part of, and those people that are my age, that's how you connect with me.
Right.
And so Jenna, that's all great. Dad knows all the old guys, but we need more than all the old guys to carry out the goal, the mission, the vision that you have. So tell us how you've been involved.
Yeah, so a lot of my nonprofit experience has been in community development and donor development. So, and it's kind of just been through osmosis. I've learned all these things. I didn't go to school for donor development or social media or marketing or anything like that. So all I know is my experience and the people around me, and being in the nonprofits that I've been in and having to do fundraising. Me and my other peers in the nonprofit world, we all agree our community specifically, because we're such an affluent county, it's very competitive in the nonprofit space. And we don't want to be competitive. We don't want to be, having to vie for the same donor funds all over the place. And we have this conversation a lot. There's a lot of, businesses in our area that give financially, but they pretty much support everyone. They're some of our largest businesses and organizations. They support everyone here. And then I keep thinking, how can we grab some attention from maybe some startup businesses or family businesses or people who just don't know how to get engaged? I'm on Facebook a lot on mom groups and our county groups, and people all the time say, how can I give back? How can I serve? Where can I volunteer? And I'm always surprised to see how few people know what's out there. And so I think awareness is a huge thing. When I was with the YMCA, they talked about creating a funnel. And so that funnel was, I'll speak to it more specifically to what we do, but the funnel is, okay, hey, I'm interested in helping adults with special needs. Okay, that's great. So how can we engage you in what we're doing physically or at events, or can you volunteer somewhere? And then how can we pull you into that funnel a little bit deeper and make you potentially want to donate to us once? And then the funnel goes even deeper. How can we make you a regular donor? How can we make you an ambassador for our organization? And so looking at it that way, constantly thinking about how we're communicating, how does that pull you into that funnel? I don't believe that everyone is meant to give to our organization specifically. I think everyone should find organizations that speak to their hearts and speak to their passions and things they care about. I mean, obviously there are people in the world who could give to every organization, and that's fantastic for them. But for our marketing purposes and the way that we want to reach out, we want to grab people who, maybe they worked with special needs students in middle school. Maybe they were a peer mentor, or maybe they have a cousin twice removed who has special needs, and we want to try to communicate that need. I realized pretty quickly when I had my son that my parents have essentially been raising, and this is no offense to my brother, but essentially his cognitive level is about 3 or 4 years old. And so the same issues I have dealing with my 3-year-old toddler, they're having now at 60 years old, dealing with their 35-year-old, and dealing with it's a harsh word, but you know what I mean. It's a struggle every day to make sure they're eating right and doing the right activities and getting exercise. And so I can now communicate that vision to my peers who have young kids. So now I can speak to it as, just imagine you have someone you have to care for at this level for your whole life. Once you get to where everyone else is empty nesters, you're not doing that. You are still caring for an adult human who you care deeply for, but every once in a while you probably do, wish for some freedom or what, things like that. So anyway, that all goes into the storytelling aspect of what we're doing. And I think that storytelling is the biggest lesson I've learned in all of my history in nonprofit. how can you communicate the story in a way that grabs people without exploiting the content of the story, if you know what I mean. Like I don't want to constantly be putting Josh front and center and saying it's hard to, manage his life, because it's not always hard. It's very joyous. He's a wonderful person, and they've helped him become that. But at the same time, you want to tell the story that makes someone say, I want to give to you over someone else. And it is sales, and it's hard, and it can be competitive. We all want to be friends in the nonprofit space. We all want to be kind to each other. But having come from a sales background too, it's like, but you've got to pay the bills, and you've got to, advance the mission. And so it's an interesting balance. I don't know if I answered your question. I want to probably go more into social media, but the storytelling aspect is what I really wanted to highlight.
Well, and so to that point, Jenna, and I think it's a great point on this. And Hutch, you and I've talked about this before. It's to give money to a nonprofit is not a decision you make in your head. It's a decision you make in your heart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And my other than knowing Josh, what hit my heart was that they turned 22, and it's just good luck, pal.
Yeah. Out the door.
And that was what touched my heart. But speak to that it's not it's not like if I'm going to go buy and put something over there. If I'm going to go buy a lamp, does it serve my purpose? Does it come on? Does it fit where I want to have it? And is it worth the $79.95 they want for it? But to make a decision to give to a nonprofit is very different than that.
Yeah, there has to be a passion, there has to be a connection, there has to be heart behind it. And that's really what that storytelling is, because if you, Butch, didn't know the story of Josh and others like him, you can go on your merry way and not be worried about it at all. So what we have to do is we have to let you know. And that's the challenge we face in selling, for lack of better terms, the vision. We want to be able to cast that vision in a compelling way. And the best way to do that is through story. And in our culture today, the best way to tell a story is through videos, through, putting a 3-minute video together that takes you from this point to that point and tells you how you can get to be a part of this wonderful story. If you need a lamp, that's a necessity. You got to buy the lamp. You got to have the lamp. You use the lamp. Hopefully you're happy with the lamp. If you don't like the lamp, you take it back, get another lamp. When it comes to giving to a nonprofit, what you're doing is you are making an investment. You're making an investment. And so a lot of people look at that as well. There's a lot of stuff I've heard over the years of, people that operate them are just building, multi-million-dollar homes and getting airplanes and all of that stuff. So that doesn't help our cause as a nonprofit anyway. To be honest with you, when coming out of the pastoral world, when we started this in 2011, started down this road, I thought that my pastor friends and the churches that I had been involved with and served over the years and knew would be our biggest supporters. To be quite honest with you, it's that men's Bible study that you mentioned earlier. It's those men who caught the vision that have allowed us to still be doing what we do. I don't know what the percentages of nonprofits are that begin and then falter and fail because of lack of support. I imagine it's pretty astronomical, because what we do is hard work. It's not easy. It's not glamorous. I got a 35-year-old son that 2 or 3 times a week I still have to help him take a shower. There's no billboard saying, hey, get a great job giving a 35-year-old man a shower. You're not going to have a long line out the door of people wanting to join that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the reality of what we do when you care for a person. And we're meeting real human needs. My mom was a nurse. And in 2015, she came to live with us. It's kind of a long story. I don't have time to give you all the details. She had never lived farther than 12 miles away from the home that she was born in until the last 3 years of her life, when she moved in here in Georgia with us. And every day she would say, I'm ready to go home. But we learned so much by caring for my mom, as hard as it was. I mean, Jenna's living at our home as a teenage daughter, and there's Grandma, which she loved to see Grandma, but Grandma smells kind of funny, and Grandma does things, and she threw a piece of broccoli at Jenna one time, and I had to pull out. I
Create
became
some
my
vegetables.
mom. Yeah, I had to. Here I am at the dinner table dressing my mom down for throwing food at my daughter. Mom, we don't do that, And so there was the day when she was saying, Hutch, you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So we came full circle, but we learned so much about caring for people when she was here that has helped us do what we do today. And when we made the decision last summer to sell our home and to take the proceeds from the sale of our home that we lived in for over 21 years in Cumming, Georgia, we poured all of that into buying the initial piece of property. And what that said to people was, hey, these guys are serious. Hutch and Cindy Matteson are serious about this because we've been talking about it for 12 years or so. But when we took that step, it's kind of like if you would take a biblical reference, Moses, the waters of the Red Sea didn't part until Moses put his foot into the water. When he took that step, then the waters subsided and the nation of Israel went across. Since we've been able to sell our home, put that money into purchasing this property, we've had so many blessings financially. We still have needs. I mean, we are right now building 2 cottages, a caregiver's cottage and our first cottage, and we want to build up to 10 cottages on this piece of property. Each cottage itself at today's price is between $200,000 and $250,000. So it's a huge expense, and the only way that we can do that is through partnership relationships. And the best way to do that is Butch, to coin a phrase, we're more interested in friend raising than fundraising. The fact of the matter is I want to be able to know Butch Nicholson. I want to know who he is, what his likes are, what his passions are, and I want him to know us well so that he knows that he can trust us and the investment that he makes in us is going to pay a long-term dividend. And so it's great if you get a one-time gift for $1,000. But the fact of the matter is we really want to care about those who give and support us as well. We pray for you. We think about you. We want to write you letters and wish you happy birthdays and visit you in the hospital. And you go, part of that's the pastor in me, but part of that's just a good way to treat people. If you're selling widgets, maybe you keep the birth dates and the anniversaries so you can send a note or something, right? But really, the motive behind that is so you can sell more widgets, right? Our motive is so that you will stay with us as partners in the long haul to make a difference in these people's lives.
Well, and that's that old school wisdom that you talked about, because Dad, you going into the men's Bible study and just creating relationships and sharing your story creates trust. And I used to work for the Chamber of Commerce around here. And I used to tell people all the time, you want to work with people you know. You don't just want to throw your money. If you are looking for a roofer or something, you'd rather hire someone who you trust, who's not going to do you wrong. And it's the same in nonprofit. I want to give to a nonprofit that I know is going to use that money well and is going to put it to good use. And that piece of it that's just being good stewards of your funds is very important. Now on the new school side of it, I mean, I'm kind of old school a little bit as a millennial. I like going to the Rotary clubs and the chamber events and things like that. I like to shake hands and talk to people and build relationships. But then there's the younger generation that's like, I want to see a reel of you telling me your story, and I want to see the faces of the people. And then I think, okay, I've got $100 in my budget today to give some money at the click of a button, as long as it's easy, as long as there's no, issues there. But some of the young people are not as they're not as needy in terms of needing that relationship. Not that that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. But there's an instant gratification of, oh, I can donate to something that I can share on my social media. There's, pieces of that we really like and appreciate. It's maybe not a perfect system for society, but it works, and it's plugging people in. And then, thanks to algorithms and ways that we can grab information, now they're going to see the things that we post, and they're going to continue to stay engaged through that. So we might not have their address, can't send them a birthday card, but they're going to see our stuff. And it's, if that's all we can do, then we can. But thankfully, technology makes that easy. and it's low hanging fruit and we can grab it and run with it. So yeah.
I think no, I know for me, seeing the pictures on uh, Facebook or on Instagram, wherever they are, those really touch. You know, we go. You talked about the heart; those go back to the heart. Uh, just seeing those smiling faces for an accomplishment. A normal person, somebody that doesn't have a disability, might not think it was a big deal, but you can tell that just the happiness that radiates from their face.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Our
Well,
people
everyone
on Genius.
deserves a good place to live and a place where they feel included. And I think that story speaks well to anyone. You know, wouldn't you like to have a place where you feel comfortable to go home to, a place you can call your own and be independent? You know, that's what I wanted when I was 20. I had a great house. Like, there was nothing wrong with my parents' house. They treated me great and everything was wonderful, but I was ready to be out on my own, do my own thing.
Yeah, we missed her, but we're glad she's gone. So
It's only been 10 years.
It's only 10 years. Wow, man.
10
Time
years.
flies when you're getting old, doesn't it, Butch?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we tell our story, we're looking at telling our story, whether it's a one-on-one conversation or even in a social media or video format. We're trying to do two things. We're trying to touch both the head and the heart, because there's some people who only want to know about the numbers. What is my $100 gift going to do? Will it make a difference? Or they think in terms of, wow, you need $250,000 to build a house. I don't have it, so I'm just not going to do anything. Well, the fact of the matter is if you give 250 and somebody else gives 250, before long we've reached the goal. So we're trying to motivate and communicate with as many people as possible. We're trying to touch the head with the practical reality of what we're doing, but we are trying to touch the heart, because that's what motivates, generosity. It's interesting, Butch, when you do a fundraiser, you get a couple that comes in, and normally if it's a husband and a wife, what you get is one of them thinks with the head and the other one thinks with the heart. And you can walk out of that same fundraiser, and the person who is touched in their heart is, let's sell the house and give everything. And the person that's thinking with their head's thinking, no, we're not going to do anything. And so you need to be able to show, here's what we do and why we do it, and here's the results of what we do, as well as the impact that you make with the heart. And so that's the interesting thing about being in the nonprofit world. Again, leadership-wise, the nonprofit world is the most intensive place to be that there is. Because you and I have talked about this before. I can't hold over you a salary, a paycheck, a dollar amount to get you to do what I want or need you to do. So what I'm trying to do is to motivate you to do something that would be beneficial to others and to you. And so it's a lot harder sell, to be quite honest with you. If I could say, hey, you go out and raise $10,000 and I'll pay you $1,000 to do it. Well, then you got that, hey, that's my job this week. I need you to go out and raise $10,000 and I'm not going to pay you a penny to do it. Now there's your motive, right? So your motive's got to be, hey, there's people in need. There's people in Africa that need water. There's people in Haiti that need food. There's people in different parts of our world that have different needs. And so that's why the vision is crafted in such a way as to touch both the heart and the head, because different people see through different lenses. And we want to be able to provide that vision that captures people's attention and affection. Because if we can capture their attention, then we might be able to capture their affection. If we capture their affection, then there's a lot more likelihood that they're going to give and be supportive of our efforts. But it's challenging. When Jenna had mentioned the thrift store, that's what we started with at first. And to be honest with you, we created a lot of jobs and a lot of job training for people. About 50 of our people that we worked with over the years went on to work at Chick-fil-A and grocery stores and different things like that. But then a lot of them just physically can't handle. Josh can work for about 3 to 4 hours, and then he's done. And to be honest with you, he can't go out and mow your lawn. He wilts in the heat. He's low tone. So there's different things that he can do and he can't do. And so his opportunities are limited. So as a parent, we have to create opportunities for him. We have to think of things. Otherwise, he just as soon sit in his room, watch his videos, and what happens is he would begin to atrophy in every way. You know, when I was in 8th grade, I had a cast on my knee. And after they took the cast off, I stood in the mirror and I noticed how much smaller my left leg was than my right leg was because the muscles, not having not used them, they atrophied. Well, again, when that adult turns 22, gets out of the school system, and they've lost everything, they've lost their relationships, they've lost their mentors, their interactions, their social activities. Um, those things atrophy, and it's just easier to go stay in your room. But what kind of a quality of life is that? That's a terrible thing. Today, we've got this phenomenon of 55 and up communities. I'm sure you're aware of this, right, Butch? You got to be 55 or older to live in this community. Why is that? That's because people like to be around people like them, don't they? They don't want to see the 2-year-old riding his bike through the street and have to watch out for it. They'd rather be able to go with a golf cart down and play cards down the street with their friends. Same thing for adults with disabilities. Josh flourishes when he's around his people that are like him. And so that's why we want to create environments where he can be around his people, because his mom and dad like to be around their people, just like everybody else likes to be around their people.
Sure. Hey, we're getting close to the end of time, but thanks, Frank. Appreciate your question. Why don't you answer that question for us, Jenna? Because that's a great question from Frank.
Yeah, it says, what are the steps you take to begin attracting relationships, prospecting new demographic? Well, we're in the very early stages of social media for Song. The Pier has always had social media. It's mostly been run by my dad. But with my new career, I have a little bit more time to give to committing to making our branding kind of work. So thankfully we had someone already work on our branding. I think it looks wonderful. It's not my specialty, so I'm really glad that's kind of out of the way. But now that we have that, I think that my parents do a great job of capturing, again, the heart of what we do and the pull the heartstrings type of thing. One thing I'd like to start doing more of, and I plan on doing, is to capture more of the lighthearted humor moments. And because I think that grabs people. And we know now that, there used to be a thing in sales that you get 30 seconds, 30-second commercial kind of pitch to get people to buy what you're selling. Well, then that got reduced, right? In an in-person conversation, or on a phone call, you've got 7 seconds to catch their attention. On social media, you have 3. And so how do we pull that into reels and posts and things that either pull at your heartstrings or make you laugh? Because those are the 2 emotions that I think are going to make you want to see more. We don't want to make you angry. We don't want to make you sad. We want to make you feel something towards wanting to help or wanting to at least just continue to see what we're doing. So I'm hoping that we could add some more humor moments, maybe some funny reels. I'm not a TikToker. I don't do anything on TikTok, but I see reels on other things. And so I might need to venture into some of that, but really capturing the young people. A lot of people my age now are getting to the point where they can start to give more financially. I mean, it's hard for us young people to find space in our budgets. I mean, maybe we're just not great at budgeting our money, but it's hard to say, yep, I'll give every month to something, because we don't know how the prices are going to change, and it worries us. I think it worries everyone, but we're in a place where life just costs more. So how can we make it, again, easily accessible for people to give? And that's making sure that those buttons are a 1 click. So as soon as you click donate, there's hardly anything standing in your way from completing that transaction. Maybe it's things like, when we do videos, having an embedded button that has you donate, and making sure that the hashtags are appropriate. So those are some things that I'm trying to do now. One thing I am learning in my real estate career is that in order to keep people engaged, I really have to follow this. It's actually, my brokerage has this kind of this model 10-5-1. So every day make 10 comments on someone's something. So your name pops up on 10 different people's social media accounts. So they're going to get notifications and your name's going to be there. Make 5 posts or messages and then 1 direct message. So it's like a formula for keeping people engaged. And so learning some of that's going to be really helpful in doing this. And how can we not only attract in content, but how can we provide content for other people? Because then the algorithms are happy with us, and the algorithms like to continue sending our information out to everyone else. So I'm learning that. Thank you, Frank, for the question, because it's a challenge. I'm working on towards social media being more effective for our organization. And so every step we take hopefully is in the right direction.
You know,
Hey,
the Sanctuary of North Georgia is really a work in progress. And what I mean by that is we were only going to do 2-bedroom, 2-bath cottages. And then we started to think, well, for people with Down syndrome, 90+% of them are going to get Alzheimer's, because whatever that Alzheimer thing is connects to that number 21 chromosome, which they have 3 of for the most part. And so we thought, okay, we want these guys to be able to age in place. So that's changing our view already. We're thinking of doing 3- and 4-bedroom cottages so that we can have a live-in caregiver and they can age in place. So we're still in process. And going back to relationships, I was thinking we did a groundbreaking. You see this helmet back here from our groundbreaking just this past Saturday. And at the groundbreaking, we lined up our grading company, and that came through relationships. I asked about 4 or 5 guys in construction industry, who would you recommend? Who would you recommend? Who would you recommend? And so those relationships have flourished to be able to give us our grading company. We're going to break ground literally with tractors on Monday morning. So we're incredibly excited about that.
That's great. Well, I think one thing that we learned today for sure is, and I don't mean this to be crass in any way, but raising money for a nonprofit is probably the hardest selling there is.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you said, Hutch. You've got to fill that space between the head and the heart.
Yeah. And we want to be able to, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we want to be able to take the relationships that we're building and as a salesman be able to say, hey, when you need some grading work, go with this company. When you need a building contractor, go with this company. When you need a plumber. So our relationships that we're building that benefit our nonprofit, we want to be able to sound loud and broad and in every way that we can. This company, that company, they support us financially. They showed up to a work day. They did this. And that's going to help you in your sales to sell your thing in the future. So it's mutually beneficial.
Sure. So as we wrap up, Jenna, tell us all the places we can find out about the sanctuary.
Yeah, so our website is sanctuaryofng.org, and so you can get a lot of information there. There's some videos on there, some content that's really great to look at. We're still working on social media, so I'll have a lot of that pulled out pretty quickly, but we have a newsletter that goes out monthly, usually around the 23rd of the month. And so if you want to join that, reach out to I guess you could probably help with that too, but send us your email. I can get you on the newsletter. And then hopefully you'll start seeing us on Facebook and Instagram very soon.
That's great.
Probably YouTube too.
YouTube too.
Yeah, YouTube as well.
Great. Well, Hutch and Jenna, I really appreciate y'all being on today. And I do believe I was right on my premise that selling, raising money for a nonprofit is selling. Yeah. And like you said, Hutch, and what really hit me when we talked is it's selling, but it's change. The difference is the head and the heart. Right. I think you've got to donate. You've got to hit that heart. Mm-hmm. So it's a pleasure to have y'all on here today. Just remember, if you're let me thank Fist Bump. Fist Bump sponsored our show today. They did all the production, all of the promotion, and all of the marketing. So a big thank you to Fist Bump. just remember, this isn't about starting over. It's about evolving. And how Hutch evolved was being able to bring his daughter on. So just remember, it's old school wisdom and new school tools. And we'll see you back here next Friday at 10 o'clock.
Thanks. Be blessed.
Butch.
See you, baby.